Welcome back to the Glaze Studios oil painting tutorial. This is Gomati Sivasankaran. We are in a tutorial series that is specially designed for somebody that is willing to move on from um, fairly, good practice level to a professional level and maybe work on a larger canvas. The last session was mainly about the canvas itself. We looked at the canvas as a recap. So we looked at the type of canvases that we could get and the quality, how important it is, how do we check the quality, what happens if we do not get a right quality, and so on. So we did look into that, and we also opened the wrapper, set up the wedges. So that's what we did. Today's session is more into preparing the canvas. Before we get started with the preparation of the canvas, there are a few things that I would like to highlight. This method of preparing is something that I prefer following. There are other methods also that I'm going to touch base on. So it doesn't mean that this is the only way to do things. So please do not misunderstand that this is the only way to do things. There are other methods as well. As we go on doing the method right now, we will also get to, I would discuss the other methods that we could use possibly. Okay. So right now, um, I'm going to quickly go over the materials that I'm using for the purpose of preparing the canvas. So I'm not even thinking about what is to be painted here. I want the canvas to be fully done with one wash or one coat of basic paint. And for that, I am taking Winsor and Newton brand, and this is the brand that I mostly preferred or mostly have moved into, but I still use some old brands that I've been using in other videos that you might have seen because it's been there, and I want to just finish it off. So mostly you will see me switching between this and that, but for now it's Winsor and Newton, and I'm going to use yellow ochre to do the first wash. I have taken a bit of that color here in a palette that I am going to show you. This is a use and throw palette that I have. It's made of what do you call, a shiny paper material that can be, once it is fully uh, wrapped with colors, then you can tear it off and throw it away. So this kind of palette is what I like using, because I do use a lot of palettes, and then once it's totally dry, then I would prefer to take it off instead of washing it. um, if not, you might want to have a wooden palette, or even better, a glass palette. Why a glass palette? It could just give you the transparent level, and you could check placing the palette itself there in some places, depending upon how clean the palette's other side is. So that will be a good idea. And I do use, for oil colors, I do use a raw linseed oil. It's the cold pressed raw linseed oil that I use, and this is the oil that I use. It's from a brand called Skurgård here in Denmark that I get. But wherever you buy, it could be any brand. But the difference between oils, we look at the oils. There are oils, definitely are mediums that we will use to paint on, in terms of the oil paintings. The oil could be a natural oil, raw oil like this one that I'm using, or it could be a faster drying medium that is available in the market. I personally do not prefer a faster drying medium. Two things. Some of them have strong chemicals, that I do not understand. Possibly my nose doesn't take it well. So it is strong, and sometimes it's appalling for me. So I'm not able to use it. And also another thing is that the room which we are using to paint, it has to be really spacious with large windows and open areas, so that you are able to counterattack the effect of the smell or so. In terms of some mediums, there are mediums that are odorless also, but you will have to really dig into that if you are very much particular into having it dried, having the painting dried as fast as possible. I personally do not see the need for it because I plan things accordingly, and I am saving time in another angle, because you will see me working on five different paintings at the same time. So once this particular canvas is full of painting and it is still not dry, I would have moved to another and I will switch back. So that way I don't really waste time. So for me, it's okay that it is taking its own natural time with the raw lin oil. Yeah. And I usually pour it on a tin lid like this. I do not pour much of it. I'm going to show you pouring. So this is, if you say, this is what I really start working with, and I tend not to take too much. Try my best not to take too much, not to go in for too much oil. If it is too much oily, your you know the canvas becomes too oily for you to place your hands on and do something. It's also a situation where you're going out of control with the paint. So I would prefer as much less oil as possible. And the brush that I would suggest if you are starting new with the first coat will be a hog hair brush. um, hog hair brush, you will see it's a rough brush. I do not have much of it anymore. I'm just looking for an example, because sometimes I also use the older brushes. So this is one hog hair brush. It is totally used and it is like this. But let me see. This is also another used hog hair brush. I love these used hog hair brushes. It comes to use in many, many, many situations. I also tend to use a brush that has been, maybe it was soft once upon a time, but then it's been used for many, many times and it is rough enough. Why a rough brush to start the first coat? This is needed for you to be able to poke as much into the linen or the cloth and make sure that the cloth as such absorbs the first layer evenly. That's exactly why when we start painting without doing the first wash, that's also good. I have done it like that. It doesn't um, matter at all in a way. But then if you do the wash, you're making sure that the every single thread in this canvas is taking evenly the first layer, which might not be possible, not be the focus once you have started drawing something and are focusing on the different colors. And you might not be able to give the equal amount of pressure or needed effort. Yeah. So these are the materials that we are talked about. So the paint, the palette, the oil, and the brush. Now, some of you might have already watched professional artists doing a wash. So it's not a painting that they are going to do, not a first coat of painting that they are going to do. They wash, so they take as much oil as possible. Maybe they use turpentine oil or any other oil, and then wash the whole canvas. So it's really faster. It takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes for you to wash. It's fully oily, and then you can use a tissue paper or a rag cloth to clean it up. That's also a very very simple and easy way to do the first coat. Yeah, that's a very simple and easy way. Then why are we going to do the hardest way? um, Before you get to the simple and easy shortcuts, at least once or twice, do practice this method of traditionally painting away, filling the color like this, moving across. What happens is that you are invariably you become aware of every single thread, and you are more attentive into filling the space evenly. This is a good practice to do, even though there's a shortcut. So do practice this, and at least for a few number of canvases, do this effectively. It takes, a minimum of half an hour, and uh, it could take up to 3 hours depending upon the large, how large the canvas is. But this one should ideally take us less than an hour for us to finish this. The scratching, it also gives you a little bit of what do you call, in a psychological sense, I would say that it gives you a little bit of understanding of this whole landscape that you're going to work on, especially if you are someone that is very good with working in a smaller space, and now you are intimidated about, the key word being intimidated about a large canvas. The way to cut off this psychological block that, oh, it's a large canvas, how will I handle it? This is one way, because all you have to do is to paint away with the same color. How challenging is it going to be? Hmm? So take it that way. Take um, so in the sessions that I will take you through, I will also touch upon the psychological aspects, because I see art um, as a medium to communicate not only with others but also with your inner self, addressing your inner fears and so on. You might be wondering what kind of session is this, but this is the real fact. When you are sitting alone with a large canvas and working many many hours, you are practically by yourself. This I have touched upon in many other videos of mine. When you're sitting by yourself and doing something totally focused, that is equivalent to meditating, which means looking at your inner self. So you are invariably going to do that. So take this as a not just a challenge to do a large canvas, but also to see where you can progress in your inner self also. So for so many other reasons, I would say that being attentive and aware is something that this particular art form could definitely add value to, or give you that kind of aspect once you take it up. So think of it as that, and even before getting into the shortcuts, try doing it this way. Mhm. So I'm just going to move on. The scratching sound happens because it's a rough brush, and that's ideally what you need. This is also something I love to use. So when you use, I'm just trying to see if I can show you in that larger in the camera. Can you see? It looks like I might have done a good job, but it doesn't look like it here in front of um, the mirror, mm, the lens. So the lens is actually showing um, white spaces in between in the location where I painted off just now. In front of you, in the normal eye, in the normal camera, it looks like I have completed a block of it, but in reality, no, not so good. So, this understanding really is important for us, at least until such time that you are getting into that clarity of having every single thread fully painted. I would advise you to do this patiently. We're sitting for many hours. It's exactly 1 more hour of work. It's okay. Let's do that and keep moving it. So I showed you that I didn't do a good job here. So what am I going to do? I'm going to push it across in the opposite direction. So in case my movement of hand did not help push the oil or the paint into the threads of the canvas, I want to make sure that it goes through in the other direction. That's why the vertical movement also. So this is something that I would advise you to try. uh, I am not sure how people do. I have also done acrylic artwork, and even in that, even though it's fairly easy to work on, I have preferred to do a overall coating, a layer or something generic, and then get started with the painting. So this is something that I have also tried to do even when I was working on acrylic. um, why work on oil colors? I think somewhere down the lane when I learned how to work with oil colors, the kind of expressions I wanted to make, the life that I wanted to bring, the taste that I wanted to show, somehow um, oil paints could do the exact same thing that I wanted. So that's where I was totally smitten by oil paint, and I think I continued just like that. I do use acrylic or other medium of colors for other purposes. Let's say if I have to make a clay doll or something, then I try to use that. So it's not that I never use this, but mostly in terms of the professional artwork that I'm doing, I have happily settled with oil for now. Um, is it a good medium? Is it a safe medium? That's a very important question. Yes and no will be an honest answer. It depends on, because the initial or the oil paints as such that was used 100 years ago or 200, 500 years ago by our the art geniuses, art masters, old masters, they were all made by themselves and then um, yeah, and then used. So that's how they were made. Right now we have when they made the paintings themselves, made the colors themselves, they had only primitive colors, to primary colors to work on. One of them is yellow ochre, definitely. So they had only few colors to work on, not many colors. But now we have a lot of things produced and products available in the market, and they have a wide variety of colors, which means that we don't really need to learn color mixing, which is actually disappointing. We must, as artists, learn how to mix colors also. Um, But that available, the huge availability of range also means that some of the products might have um, a tinge of what do you call, yeah, cadmium or some oxides or something. Some of them may not be good for health. So the best thing that you could do is to try sticking to primary colors and not go really. Oil colors are costly, first of all. So when you get too many options to buy, please stick to some primary color range, which will help you learn more. It's not a big deal. You're going to learn more about colors and mixing and so on, and avoid colors that could be stronger. So that's one thing. And again, the medium. So many options are available. I have seen even people who are much more cautious. They use a glove to protect their hands while working on oil paints, because they might be aware that they are buying something um, that is a little bit poisonous in a way. Um, you want to work with the color. Sometimes, I'll have to work with gold, and I'll have to work with some colors that I am aware of it's slightly dangerous. So I am making sure that I'm washing my hands off very thoroughly and so on. um, I try not to touch the colors with my finger, um, but you will see me use my finger when I work on for example, when I'm working on human faces and so on. But at the same time, I'm also aware of the colors that I'm using. They are uh, at least the primary colors that I use. So in that way, I am careful. So if you are thinking of working with oil colors for a long time, I think it's a good idea to always look at the kind of materials that are used to make the oil paint. It doesn't mean that any particular brand is good or bad. Every single brand, in order to achieve a particular color tone, will have to add certain chemicals. It is a part of that pigment. And if you are going for such a pigment, then you are um, maybe risking. Yeah. For some people, it doesn't do a thing. I have also read this question has been asked in many places in social media. I have seen these questions coming up. And I've also seen people say, hey, nothing happens to me at all. I don't bother. Some of them do complain of health issues. So I think it's person to person thing as well. So just to be sure, you at least are aware of what you're buying. So do not try to go for too many colors, and try to use primary colors to teach yourself very well. Mm. And stick to something basic. So I'm moving in left and right direction, up and down directions, pushing away the paint as much as possible. I also like doing the sides. I like painting the sides as well. So I work evenly on the sides as well. I've been through this area for a while. Can we see? Can we test? Is it better? Mm, kind of okay. If I look really minute, there are slight places where I would, prefer that the color goes in perfectly. So this is exactly why I prefer to do it this way. Yeah. So I'm going to now turn the camera slightly this way. So you're able to see the top part of it. We will work on the top part of it. I can stand up, possibly. Yes, work on it. So if we are looking back at the the oil here and the paint, I have what I took in the beginning. It's the same that I'm still using. I might need one more, um, almost the same amount that I took. I might need to take some more. But if you see, I'm trying to push the color in the directions. Um, you also see me making circular movements. So vertical, horizontal, crisscross, circular, anything that you would like to do, you do, but you make sure that you are filling in the space properly. Yes. This is for me fairly a decent to medium sized canvas. Um, but it could also be considered a large canvas, because from the point of view of packing and selling and moving it around, it is falling into the category of large, definitely. So I can see that, the patch, I have applied a little more here than necessary. So I'm going to use the oil to push the color around and not try to take some more from there. These are minor things, but you are practicing few other things as well to learn how to use less of paint and less of the material, and to gain effective work throughout, consistency throughout. Yeah. So in case you have put a little more than needed, try to push it around and balance it and use it effectively. So I think I can move this further down. I'll try to do that. So I'll try to move the paint further down into areas where it is still white, fairly white. Almost half of the canvas is done. I'm seeing if I can do the sides as well right away. Um, so when I do the sides, it's almost the same logic that I do. I make sure that the sides also are having the paint. I want to topple the canvas over so I can show you while I work on the other side of the bottom side of the canvas. I haven't painted the top, but I will do it. It's easier when I do it this way. Yeah. So this is easier for me to work on. Yes. So this side is also done. And I still haven't seen the need to pick up color. Trying to reuse from all the directions, that is where I can see the colors available. Really, if you see, the first coat is slightly rough or hard stroke that you are making. Right. Mm. Right now, I think I can topple it over a bit more so you're able to see it better. So this is what we have as leftover space. And right now I see the need to take a little bit of the color. I'm gonna go back and take it. I still haven't seen the need to add or pick up oil. Whatever I have is enough. So I'm gonna take much, this much. Yeah, that's what I have taken. Let's see how much of it I need. So try to use less. If you always need to go back and take, yes, you can do that, but use as much as needed. Yeah, not too much of it. So you can already see that I have taken a bit more than what is needed. Maybe I will use for the other canvas. So just placing dots to see how much of. I think we are good enough to move on. Make the coloring going vertically, horizontally, crisscross, any which way is possible. The logic being that you are having every single thread in the canvas coated at least with one coat of paint. And also in that process, you are getting to understand the topography of your canvas. At the same time, you are letting go of the intimidating feelings. You're acclimatizing yourself to the geography of the canvas. How are we doing with the time? We are still good. When we are doing a physical exercise or anything new, do we say that we warm up, we do some warming up exercises, isn't it? And then we get started with the real work. So consider this 1 hour as a warming up and do it, enjoy it and do it, yeah, fully. um, I am a left hander, as you can see, so I'm using my the way I move and so on. It does matter what kind of hand and where you are placing yourself. Why does it matter? Yeah, in the beginning, maybe for 5-10 minutes, it doesn't matter where you stand, how you are holding your brush. Yeah, maybe not. But if you are standing or sitting or working like this on a large canvas for many, many hours, every single thing matters. Every single aspect of what you do matters. Um, so it might be interesting for you to consider going for a walk or having something very light and physical to do in your daily routine. If you are getting into the habit of painting large canvases, it will take a toll on your shoulder or neck or so on with time. Yeah. um, Today I had a child, uh, possibly 10-year-old. She was telling me in her class today that, oh, it's so much pain in my neck and shoulder. Um, and she was seated for a couple of hours in the class today. So it doesn't really have a, what do you call, a age limit or something. It's just that, we are working with passion and we're focusing in one direction, isn't it? So um, it could turn slightly painful if you are not watching yourself on where your body is and how you are making movements and so on. If you are seated and painting, It's good to stand up for a while and paint and then sit down for a while. Keep switching your place so you are never keeping the body in movement. You can see that I am done with this. Is just did I do this side? Looks like so. This is the only side that is left over. Good. The last part. When I do such a thing, um, I my hands definitely are having the paint, so I'm going to have to go and wash my hands thoroughly before I have my food or such. Also, I tend to wear something really old, or the kind of shirts that might be easily washable, mm, in case I spoil the cloth. Because in I would advise you to get an apron, um, if you are someone that is slightly messy like me. I have spoiled a lot of cloth in the process of self discovery through art. So that's also another damage that we need to consider. Actually, we are done. I'm going to check one more time just to be sure. Let's look at some places. How is this? You can see me better. Okay. I'm just looking at the camera result. Huh? It is kind of okay. I'm still not convinced. It's kind of okay. I can live with it, or maybe not. So I'm going to do maybe one more. This wash is done with less oil, so the chances of it getting dry, in case you want to work on a dry landscape, um, because I used less oil, the chances of it getting dry is like very high, and not that fast, but in a couple of days it should be fully dry. Um, but then for my next objective, the next step is going to be where I start dividing and planning. So that's when we discuss um, what are we going to work on, and also how are we going to plan. So it's a little bit of a strategic class or a math class, basically. So you might be wondering, okay, she touched upon psychology and now math, but everything plays in. It's a art is a culmination of all, and you will get to see that step by step. So to summarize what we did today, we started with this large canvas. Before we wanted to paint the first coat, we tried to understand the materials used. And once I showed the materials, we also talked a little bit about washing the canvas really fast in 5-10 minutes, versus what we did actually, the benefits of it, or um, benefits versus drawbacks. There isn't any big drawback. It's just that you are saving time when you're washing, but you learn a lot when you do this, and you're also psychologically preparing yourself for a large canvas task. So that's the benefit that we discussed about. And then we talked about colors and paints. We talked about pigments, and how some pigments could be hazardous or not so good for your health, depending upon the composition of the pigment, and the importance of us to use some basic colors that do not have some oxides or cadmiums that would that might, um, harm you in some way or the other. Also, we talked a little bit about the place where you are working with. The space has to be really very big. Most of us that have an apartment, or maybe you have a huge house, but then you are confined to a room where you prefer to call it a studio or such. It is important that you are ventilating it appropriately, uh, to make sure that you breathe enough of natural air. We talked about what else? Yes, we did talk about the health aspect of working long hours, the mental health aspect of being aware, self-aware of your inner self. That's the best thing. But also the physical health that could take your toll when you are working on a large canvas without making much of movement. So it's important that you are physically not necessarily too active, but at least going for a small walk, stretching your body or such. Yeah. So that's what we discussed in summary. So we have, hmm, this is me not being convinced with the with the work. You will see that craziness also going around. Um, but I think we are ready to end this, because this is fair enough for the first quote. Yes. So this is exactly what I had to show you in terms of the first coat, or the first layer, the base layer, foundation layer of your large canvas. Thank you very much for watching this, and I hope you have learned something out of it. Not just the painting itself, the foundation, applying foundation itself. We did discuss so many other aspects into this session specifically, so that you are mentally preparing yourself in all different angles on what you want to do. So, in case you have any questions, please do feel free to share that. Um, my email ID will also be flashed. It is support@theglacestudio.tk. support@theglacestudio.tk. So that will be the place you can write to, and I will try to answer your questions as much as I am aware, or if I'm not aware, I'm going to learn through your questions and share the newly acquired knowledge with you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.